Okay, just a couple more things I want to cover before we go to the slide program. We talked about mulching, we talked about irrigation. Let's talk a little bit about fertilization. Fertilization is something that is absolutely important to success with any type of plant material that we want to grow, especially things that have specific needs as far as to what we're feeding with. You know, blueberries are a good example. They're going to require an acid type of fertilizer. So, you know, trees in general, if we want a tree to produce fruit, we're going to look for blends of fertilizer that are going to give us the most advantage to root stability and to the promotion of fruiting and flowering wood. So, in general, most of the fertilizers that are on the market, for me, they're great if you're growing a young fruit tree. If I want to grow a tree for the first 2 or 3 or 4 years in the ground to get it up to the production size, I'm not interested in really the tree producing that much fruit in its early stage, but I want to get the tree to be more fruiting able for the future, then nitrogen is an important element in the fertilizer blend. And you guys all know the 3 numbers on any bag of fertilizer. The first number is nitrogen, the second number phosphorus, third number potassium or potash. So nitrogen, what does nitrogen do for us? Green, vigorous growth. Now what does phosphorus and potash do for us? Root stability, fruit production, and flower production. So it's only common sense to consider that after the tree has reached a size that is manageable for me, when I get my 7-foot plum tree or my 15-foot avocado tree, and I don't need to concentrate on growing that tree for size anymore, I now want to make sure that I'm switching over to a fertilizer blend that is going to give me a humic acid base, high phosphorus, high potash, and some trace elements. So a little bit of zinc, a little bit of iron, a little bit of manganese. Very, very small amounts. They call them trace elements because they're only in the product in trace amounts. It won't be a large percentage. Now, the phosphorus and potash are important. So if you go and look at most basic fertilizers, nitrogen is the highest number on the bag. The fertilizer companies aren't stupid. They've looked and done many studies on how we perceive their product, and they understand that the more readily available form of nitrogen they have in their product, the quicker we see the result. If you throw sulfate of ammonia on your lawn, 2100, you better make sure that the mower blades are sharp, because you're going to be out there in a few days and cutting that grass every, week or twice a week through the growing season. So the more nitrogen you put on your fruit trees, what can we expect? Vegetative growth. So the question that I get 150 times a year. Planted this apricot tree, it's out on the back of the lawn, it gets plenty of irrigation from the lawn water, and the gardener puts the lawn fertilizer on it, so I know it gets lots of plenty of fertilization. The tree grows 10 feet every year, I don't get any fruit. What's the problem? Well, it's pretty simple. You're treating your fruit tree like you're treating your lawn and expecting to get something different out of it. So when it comes to the point where your trees are up to size, switch gears on nitrogen. Go for the lowest possible available amount of nitrogen in the product. So I like products that are going to be 3 to 5 times the amount of P and K as they are N. So something like a 3-12-12 is what I'm really looking for in order to get that root stability and the promotion of that fruiting and flowering wood. Humic acid base and the trace elements are also important. So, look for that type of a product. There are a lot of them out there now. There are a lot of organic humic acid-based fertilizers available, and there are a lot of blends. But basically what I'm looking for is a flower and bloom type blend. That's going to give me everything I need to produce good fruit on my fruit tree. Timing is also really important. Remember we talked about blueberries, feeding blueberries maybe 9 months out of 12. Well, for fruit trees in general, once they're in the ground, we're really looking at feeding about 6 months out of 12. So 6 months on, 6 months off. I want to make sure I'm feeding before and through the growing season. So I want to start at the end of January. I want to feed one more time, maybe end of March or April, and one more time after that, maybe end of June or 1st of July. So that gives me breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then it allows for the fruit trees to use up the available amount of nitrates that are in the soil and then still go dormant in the fall. Now, one of the hardest things we have in Southern California is trying to achieve dormancy. And one of the main reasons for that is over irrigation during the late summer and overuse of nitrogen fertilizer. So let's consider that. Let's consider there are 4 things that promote dormancy in Southern California. So that's going to make a deciduous fruit tree lose all its leaves. It's also going to make a citrus or an avocado or a subtropical shut down for the winter months. So even though an avocado or a citrus is not going to go dormant, it's not going to drop its foliage, it is going to shut down its growing terminals and harden up for the winter. And you want it to do that. It needs to do that to set its bloom wood and promote its flowering for the springtime. So there are 4 things that contribute to dormancy. The first thing is you have no control over, and it's a constant. What is that?
Weather.
What?
Light.
No, it's not the weather. I heard it. Daylight hours. So our light hours change on an annual basis from just December 21st, or right around there being the shortest day, June 21st, or right around there being the longest day. So we would like to see our trees go dormant in the wintertime, and the shortest days correspond well to that. We have no control over that. We can't change that. It's a constant. It's never different. It's always the same. The second thing, although it does correspond to the decrease in daylight hours, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a constant. It does change quite a bit, and that is temperature. So temperature can vary in the wintertime. We can have 85 degrees in January. We just went through a February with some mild Santa Anas, and a couple of days hit 90 degrees in February. So although the daylight hours were still fairly short, we were still getting some warm temperatures. So we'd like to think that cooler temperatures correspond to short daylight hours. Most of the time they do, not always. So that's not a constant, but again, we have no control over it. We can't change it. Those are the two main contributors to dormancy in Southern California. But now there are 2 more things that we have complete control over, and that's irrigation and fertilization. So timing your fertilizer pattern, timing your irrigation patterns to start to slack off in the summer. Even though it's hot in the summertime, you want to, by middle of August or 1st of September, you want to start backing off as much as you possibly can on irrigation, so you allow those trees to harden up in the fall and actually go into a proper dormancy. So, don't over-irrigate your trees in the late summer, and don't feed your trees past the end of June or 1st of July. Let them use up those nitrates in the soil, and that way when they go into the winter months, they go into a good, hard dormancy. So 4 things that contribute: daylight hours, decrease in temperature, nitrates, and irrigation water. 2 we have no control over, 2 we have complete control over. So use those to your advantage. Make sure you're not feeding at the wrong time of year. There's no reason to feed a fruit tree in September. There's no reason to feed it in October or November. You want to make sure that those trees are hardening up for the winter, and they're going to do everything they can do to give you a good bloom in the spring and put out the fruit set that you'd like to have. Question?
So is this the same for like bare root trees that you just planted? Like
Absolutely.
For the first 2 years, or is this,
Well, for the first 2 years, you're going to use a higher nitrogen, but you're still going to
Right.
follow that same pattern.
Okay.
You want those trees to go dormant, and if you're irrigating excessively in September and October and still feeding with nitrogen in September and October, you're not going to get dormancy.
Okay.
The tree's not going to want to drop foliage. And it'll still drop foliage, but it'll go into what we call a soft dormancy. The wood won't harden up, the terminals won't harden up. The tree isn't actually going to sleep. It's kind of like the equivalent of going to Starbucks at 11 p.m. and getting that venti frappuccino with an extra shot of espresso and thinking, okay, I'm going to go home now and go to sleep. Well, you know what? I don't know about you, but I'm not going to go home and go to sleep. I better have about a 5-hour drive or about a 2,000-word article to write, because baby, I'm up all night at that point. And your trees are going to do the same thing. They're going to respond to that like we would respond to caffeine. They're going to respond to nitrogen. So make sure that you're backing off on the nitrogen through the summer months so that we're not, maintaining those high nitrate levels or those heavy irrigation patterns in the late summer and in the fall. Let your trees go and have a good night's sleep. Any questions on fertilization?
So you talk about humic acid-based fertilizer?
Yes.
I don't think I've heard that term. Is it on the bag?
Yes, yes. And I don't like to promote products. Nobody pays me to promote products, but there is a product on the market that I've been using successfully for over 30 years. The product's always been the same. It's virtually unchanged. except when they found out how much I liked it, they added fruit trees to the label. And that product is Grow Power Flower and Bloom. It's humic acid based, it has all the trace elements, and the guaranteed analysis is 3-12-12. So there's a lot of other humic acid based fertilizers out there, you know, Dr. Earth and I can't think of all of them, but there's a dozen of them or more. So I've always liked the Grow Power because it has the highest P and K and the lowest nitrogen out of any of them that I've seen. So it gives you just enough nitrogen to keep, you know, good color up and keep the tree healthy, but not enough to put it into a vegetative mode as opposed to a fruiting and flowering mode.
What's in it?
What's in
What makes
it?
it a 3-12-12?
It's nitrogen, phosphorus, and
I know,
potash.
but what do they use? Any kind of like fish meal?
You know, I'm not sure exactly what the
Meal.
actual ingredients are. I know it's a humic acid base, and then they're using other different, you know, types of granulated product along with it, but it's all organic based product.
Is it organic? Because I just called them recently because we're using them with the organization I work with, and they said it's organic based, but they add commercial fertilizer to it, so your nitrogen.
There is a non-organic based, a chemical based nitrogen in
But
it.
the rest of it's not the actual.
Correct.
That's what it says. The actual ingredients is making it grow. It's plant based, and they said I can't remember exactly what the base is, but then the actual.
Well, it does have a non-organic form of
fertilizers.
nitrogen.
But it's not organic, right?
It's not an OMRI registered organic, no. No, but like I said, I've been using it successfully for over 30 years. I love the product, and nothing else. Even some of the other OMRI registered products, to me, they're still too high in nitrogen. So if I was going to use some of the other ones where the nitrogen's still 3 times higher than the P and the K, I'd have to get a non-organic form of phosphorus and potash like Super Bloom 0-10-10 to add to that. So I like the fact that Grow Power is predominantly an organic base. So I won't say anything else about the product. You guys decide for yourself. I'm not pushing the product. They don't pay me to push the product. I just like the product. So I've been using it successfully for a long time.
I have a question about irrigation quickly, about the trees and
Okay.
backing off. If we were gonna use, say, a moisture meter, you're talking about like a 3-month period that we're kind of backing off on irrigation.
Yes.
To what extent do we back off without stressing out fruit trees?
Well,
Would
just
you
to that
want
point, you know, you don't want to physically stress the tree, so you don't want to see the tree,
You don't wanna see
you know,
dry.
showing signs of stress or defoliating out of season.
Right,
But you want to maintain its, you know, stability and its form through the fall, but you don't want to promote new growth. So I think you know, I can't tell you what to look for other than to make sure that the tree's not physically stressing, the foliage isn't weeping. But start to back off as much as you can, and then when we start to get a little bit of rain, you know, I mean, even this year, we haven't had as much rain as I would like to see certainly, but we've had enough where I haven't had to turn on any irrigation since November. So,
So with your tensiometer,
tensiometer.
did you do anything? You just turned it off?
I turned it off. About November 1st, I turned the whole system off. And I haven't irrigated anything except container plants since then. Not the lawn, not anything, period. And my landscape looks beautiful. Okay, let's move on to pest control. Pest control, disease control. You guys don't realize how lucky you are to be living in the environment that we live in. I've traveled all over this country and to, you know, several other countries on this planet and done different types of lectures and consulted and worked with people on growing trees. And honestly, you guys have it made. We live in a climate where our problems are so minor. Maybe we'll have a little aphid in the springtime. Maybe we'll have some ants to deal with. Maybe we'll have some spider mite in the summer, or some citrus leaf miner or something like that. So easily controlled. They're really not even issues for consideration. Maybe we have a little peach leaf curl or powdery mildew in the spring season, but compared to other climates, you guys have got it made. You know, there's so few things that we really have to worry about here. So I'll be real limited on what I talk about pest control, and the main focus that I want you to consider is understanding your issues. If you don't know what your problem is, don't do anything. The first thing you're going to do is figure out what is the issue. So you're going to take a Ziploc baggie, you're going to go out and look for some damage. If there's an insect present or there's some disease present that you can see, you're going to pick some fresh samples of that damage or that insect or that disease. You're going to put it in the bag and you're going to seal it up. And you can bring it into a group like this. You can take it to the County Department of Agriculture. You can take it to a retail garden center that you know and that you trust and get your issue identified. There are a lot of things out there that look confusing. There are a lot of insect issues that look like disease and disease issues that look like an insect. I remember the first time I saw citrus leaf miner. I looked at citrus leaf miner and said, well, this has got to be some kind of a fungus or something. I mean, look at the way it's got this weird little trailing pattern on the leaves and it looks all glossy and I had no idea what it was. And then I found out, and this is 20 plus years ago, well, this is citrus leaf miner. This is a new insect in California, and it's going to become a big problem, and it absolutely has become a big problem, but easily controlled. Once you know what it is, there are plenty of OMRI registered organic products out there that you can use to control it. So you've got other problems. You've got shot hole fungus on fruit trees. When you look at a leaf that's all pockmarked with all these little spots, and you think, well, something's been chewing on the leaves or eating all these little spots. But you take it in and get it properly identified. It's not an insect, it's a fungus. So it needs to be controlled with a horticultural oil or a fungicide or a change in the weather. There are all kinds of things that will help to resolve these problems. But if you don't know what the problem is, don't guess. Get it identified. Now, I always go back to my dad. When I was a kid growing up, my mom and dad had 5,000 square feet of the most beautiful dichondra lawn you could imagine. Could have been the cover of Sunset magazine. All through the 60s and the early 70s, dichondra was it. You wanted a nice dichondra lawn. So my mom was really proud of that lawn. She'd be out there in the evening in the summer with tweezers, spurge and oxalis, and just manicuring that lawn. And my dad, he was a spray guy, so he put on the fertilizer. And when the flea beetles came in the summertime and started eating the roots and causing little brown spots and gray spots, my dad was the guy that took care of that. So he'd go to the garage and he'd get his old glass spray jug out and hook it up to the hose and get his bottle of DDT and set on 1 ounce to the gallon, but he'd just pour some in there and put a little bit of water in there. And then he'd be out in the lawn, he'd be out there with shorts and a tank top and flip-flops, and a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and he'd be spraying over there, just getting those flea beetles, and those flea beetles are gone. And you know what? My dad is still around, he's still healthy again. I don't know why. Because he never paid any attention to proper use of any of those products. He just went out there and did it. I looked at it back then when I was a kid and I thought, what are you doing out there, man? I mean, stuff's blowing back in his face and you can smell it all the way down the street. Nasty, nasty stuff. I mean, stuff that you would never find on the market nowadays. Not just, haphazardly putting it on. Don't be my dad. Pay attention to what you're doing. If you have to use any kind of a product, if you're going to apply it through a sprayer, if you're going to use any kind of either a chemical or an organic-based product, an OMRI registered product, make sure you're being safe. Wear protective clothing. Long pants, good old shoes, long sleeve shirt, hat, eye protection, a mist mask or a respirator, gloves. Cover yourself up, man. Make sure that you're not out there getting backlash or back spray from that product. Make sure you're using it at the right time of day, either right at sunrise or right at sunset. You don't want to be out there spraying anything when the bees are active or during the day if the wind's blowing, you're not spraying at all. So, use the product right. Follow label instructions. The label on there will tell you everything you need to know about that product. For flea beetles and dichondra, 1 ounce per gallon. For aphid on roses, 3/4 of an ounce per gallon, whatever. It'll tell you exactly how to use it, when to use it, the proper dilution ratio to put on, and it'll even give you the directions on the sprayer. So understand your issue, understand your product, be safe when you're applying it. Always look for the organic alternative. Whenever I have an issue that I don't understand, or I get it identified, and the nurseryman would say, well, okay, you can use malathion, or you can use spectricide, or whatever. I'm going to ask you, what's the organic alternative? Is there an OMRI registered horticultural spray, or something like spinosad, or something that's an organic product that I can use, that's always going to be my first choice if I have to spray. But I'm really going to consider, do I really have to spray? If I've got a little bit of peach leaf curl and it's the middle of May, I know when the weather gets a little bit warmer, it's going to go away on its own anyway. So is it detrimental to the crop of fruit that I have on the tree, or is it just physical? Is it going to go away? Citrus leaf miner doesn't bother me because it doesn't harm the fruit. It does a little damage to the foliage. I can live with that. As long as the tree's up to size, I don't need to grow it anymore. I got a good crop of fruit on the tree. Citrus leaf miner doesn't intimidate me at all. I haven't sprayed for it in 5 or 6 years. So some issues are just going to be there, but they're not that detrimental. They're not that difficult to deal with, and most of them we can live with. Now the other alternative is take your hose and a high pressure nozzle and keep your trees clean. Go out several times through the growing season. Again, first thing in the morning or right at the end of the day, get your high pressure nozzle on there, get all the old foliage out, get all the cobwebs out, get all the things washed off of the branches and the twigs and the leaves. You can remove physically 80 or 90% of any issues you would have. Brown scale, red scale, mealybug, leaf miners, aphid, any of those things can be pretty easily removed physically just with your hose and high pressure water. And the ones that can't, like citrus leaf miner, I'll just live with it. I'm not that concerned. It's not that big a deal. So whatever you're doing, get your issue identified. Make sure you know what you're dealing with. Look for the organic alternative. Look for alternate methodology, like your hose and a high pressure nozzle. And whatever you have to do, if you have to spray a product on, make sure you're following label instructions 100%, and make sure you're being safe for yourself, your pets, your children, your environment. You want to have respect for all of that, and make sure that anything you're using, you're being safe with. Any questions on that? Yes?
Organic solutions for peach leaf curl?
Horticultural oil. The other one I found that works really good as a post-dormancy control is kelp extract. And the kelp extract is not actually controlling the problem, it's allowing the tree to outgrow it. So it's really just a foliar fertilizer. So all that new flesh of growth comes out healthy and thicker, and it won't be infected by peach leaf curl. And you got to put it on about every 10 days to 2 weeks. But it works very, very effectively. Not as a dormant control. For dormant control, you need to use like a copper oil, but this is for post-dormancy, after the tree is already done blooming and set its fruit and is growing up for the season.
Copper better than sulfur for a dormant period? Or
Yes. Yes, copper's going to give you much more control than a sulfur-based spray. In fact, I don't even know if there's a sulfur-based spray on the market anymore. Anything else? Okay. I'll just make a couple comments now, and then we'll kind of go through and do a little bit of review on the PowerPoint presentation. How many people have been to our website? I know you have, Julian. I recommend that you guys go and check it out. It's davewilson.com. It's by far the most comprehensive website for fruit tree information that is available now. Not only deciduous fruit trees, I've done citrus articles and blueberry articles and avocado articles and all kinds of things that are up on the website. And we have about 110 or 20 or whatever what we call fruit tube videos. So it's anything that have to do with fruit. It's growing fruit trees. It's a 3-year history of our new backyard orchard style garden from ground break all the way through what's going to happen this spring. So you get to see the evolution of this garden from day one, 2 or 3 videos a year all the way up until now. There's a lot of videos on there on horticultural collections. Toured the UC Riverside Citrus Collection, toured the Irvine Avocado Collection, done a lot of the Persimmon Collection, UC Davis Pomegranate Collection. There's all kinds of different videos on there on different aspects and themes of edible horticulture. So take advantage of it. Take a look at it. There's a lot of great information on there. And if you're not tired of looking at me today, you'll love the website. So davewilson.com. Make sure to pay attention to that. And I'm going to make a kind of a parting comment now, even though we're not parting, but it kind of goes to the end of this speech right here. I really consider myself a lucky man. I think I'm luckier than smart, because I've been able to work for some really great people in Southern California horticulture throughout my career. I have many, many mentors in my career, and the position that I'm in right now is really, it's my dream job. I can't think of anything else I would rather be doing than being able to tour around the country and all around the southwestern United States and even other parts of the world and talk about growing fruit trees and horticulture and dealing with wonderful people like you guys. And they pay me to do it. I get to travel all around the world on their dollar. They give me credit cards and say, just go stay places and spend money and talk about fruit trees. And they pay me really well. I make a really good living, you know. I'm really happy with everything that I have going for me in my life and my occupation, except for one thing. I spend a whole lot of time on the Southern California freeway system. I left at 6 a.m. this morning to come down here, fought my way all through San Diego traffic. So that's one thing that it's just happenstance to my occupation. I have to be able to deal with that. So oftentimes at the end of the day, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 4:30 in the afternoon, I'll leave Pasadena for my 22-mile drive home, and it'll take me 2 hours, 2.5 hours on the freeway system. And you know, when I get home, it's hot and it's sticky out there, and I can feel the little vein in my forehead is throbbing, and I know my blood pressure's high, so I fall back on the environment that I've created, the place that I love. I go in the house and I pet my dogs and throw on some old clothes and a big hat and take my clippers and go out to the yard. Maybe pour myself a glass of aged red grape juice. So little, you know, go out, pick some greens and some cilantro and some, you know, some food to use for the salad, and eat a couple apricots and eat a couple mandarins, and the dogs are running around wagging their tails, and I can hear the birds and see the hummingbirds, you know, working on the flowers, and it's a place that I love to be. It's a place that I've created as my getaway. What it really is, it's my psychiatrist. It's a place where I can go and feel comfortable and relaxed. And I feel within a few minutes, the blood pressure's down, the little veins not throbbing anymore. I'm happy, I'm eating some good fresh fruit, I'm looking at some beautiful flowers and a landscape that I've created for myself, and a place that I really like to be. And it gives me release at the end of every day, something that other people would go and pay for. I had an interesting experience here. A few weeks ago, my neighbor comes up, drives around the corner, and I'm out working in my front yard, and he says to me, "Tom, what are you doing? Why don't you pay somebody to come maintain this landscape, you know? The guy, for me, $110 a month, he does everything, you know? Trims the trees and cuts the lawn," and I'm, "Hey, Barry, you know what, it's okay, I like to do this, I enjoy doing this." You know, and I said, "Well, what are you doing today, Barry?" And he says, "Well, I'm going to the gym." And I thought to myself, I'm getting my workout. I'm not paying anybody to use their workout equipment. I'm not paying anybody for their facility. I'm not paying a gardener to come and do what needs to be done in my landscape. I get it all for free, just for my effort, and I'm in a place where I really like to be. What's better than that? What's better than being able to work outside in the place that you've created for yourself 340 days out of the year on average? If you want to go out for 15 minutes or 3 hours or 6 hours, it's up to you. You can create it. You can do it any way you want. So never take that for granted. Never take for granted that you're the luckiest gardeners in this country, and you guys live in an environment where you can have fun and work in your landscape all the time and enjoy everything that you created for yourself. Congratulations on that.